Welcome back to the channel. So this week we're going to be painting Hussars, more of them. This time it's going to be the 6th Regiment of French Hussars. These were quite a fun regiment to paint because they've got quite a flamboyant colour scheme. So they've got red jackets, then a blue pelissy, I can't pronounce it, the sort of Hussar jacket. So yeah, really colourful chaps, so good fun. So for the horses, first step is to spray paint black the whole miniature, then do a zenithal dry brush highlight in white. You could use like a bony colour, but I went for white. Then I use chocolate brown from Game Colour and just water that down slightly with some flow improver. But don't worry too much at this stage, just do what you need to do. So for the uniform itself, it's dark blue jacket and the red. So the blue is Midnight Blue from Model Colour and the red is Crimson. It's just a craft paint red. I didn't actually have any from Model Colour or Game Colour, so it actually works quite nicely. All you've got to do is just make sure you keep it moist, otherwise it will dry out quite quickly. I found if you use matte medium, that works the best. But as you can see in the imagery, very flashy. You could say typical French, but they do look good. So next, the sheepskins. So we use Game Colour Bone White on that for the base colour. And just pick them out nicely, the areas that need it. I mean, having been in the household cav, I always thought it would be quite nice if all of the cavalry regiments still had 50 or so ceremonial uniforms, and then instead of just the household cavalry always doing guard duty, all of the cavalry regiments could take turns. That way you could have, sometimes it'd be like the Scots Greys, and other times it would be different dragoon regiments and hussars. Would be quite interesting. Anyway, back into reality. So for the carbines, we used Leather Brown from Game Colour. Then we've got the metalwork, so for the swords, stirrup irons, etc. And again, it's just silver from Game Colour. And that's one thing that I say in most videos, but when you're painting smaller miniatures, don't be afraid to use colours that are slightly brighter, because you want them to stand out on the table. You want to be able to see what you've painted, so use a slightly brighter colour because it will dull down once you put washes on. So colour is your friend. Flat flesh from Tamiya Colour for the flesh. I'm not sure why the video didn't actually work. I think I forgot to press the button, but yeah, nice and easy. With that done, that's all of your base layers done. So it's time to give the miniature a wash with dark brown. So I use chocolate brown with a drop of black and then wash the whole thing. Then we touch up the areas which are black, so the reins, cuffs and collars on different parts of the uniform, the shakos or shakos, however you want to pronounce them. So now that we're getting into this sort of secondary stage, just take your time. I would use a detail brush for most of it. You could probably use a slightly larger brush, but I would say detail is the way to go because you're using, and because we've got pretty small miniatures. And just take your time with the horses, with all of the reins, headwear, etc. That is a very smart uniform. Next we're going to just highlight the red areas. So as I said, it's a craft paint from System 3, and it's called Crimson. And so just use it straight up, and you don't need to go over all of the red, just the sort of the extreme edges, the sharp edges. Because we watered it down before and went over the zenithal, you will have already got a nice what's the word I'm looking for? Flow between the dark areas and the light areas, so use that to your favour. Yeah, you might be wondering, didn't we just do the black? Yeah, I missed a couple of pieces. So just go back in, and if you need to, pick out the areas that you missed. Next, for these guys, the cordage on their uniforms was sort of a goldy yellow. So here we go with System Freeze yellow. And just take your time with these details. You don't want to push too hard. Just put a nice amount on your brush, keep it moist, and if you need to do several goings over, several layers, take your time, don't rush it. It'll look better if you take your time. And it doesn't take too long in the great scheme of things. Then we get the white belts. So that's Game Colours Dead White. Again, with most of the miniatures, as I say, with every colour, just take your time. And if possible, use the edge of the brush rather than the tip. That's what I find. And you're less likely to jab into the miniature and put paint where you don't want it. For the horse's hooves, we're using Game Colour Bone White. As I've said before in other videos, sure, most horses, or not most, but a lot of horses don't have light coloured hooves. But for your miniatures, if you just want them to stand out a little bit more, that's what I go for. And so that's why I use the bone colour. For the highlights on the horses, I use Leather Brown from Game Colour, and I just water it down slightly, and then just go over any of the areas that you can see on the miniature, the raised areas, and leave all the shadow. It's nice and easy because the miniatures do have a lot of detail in them, so nice and easy to do. And to start with, I wasn't too sure how it was going to turn out doing it this way, but actually very happy with the results. In the past I would have dry brushed rather than using water. I kind of went the other way, and yeah, very happy with the results. So dry brushing isn't always the way, although it does help a lot in a lot of situations. Now for the mane and the sheepskin, we're just going to use Game Colours Bone White, which is the same colour we used originally for the sheepskin, but now that we've washed it, it's slightly darker, so just go over it nice and easy and just pick it out. This time I am dry brushing, and it just picks them out nicely. Then we've got the cap badges and the other brass work on the miniatures, and we just use Game Colour Bright Bronze. And just going back to the horses themselves, I found that the difference between the dry brush on the mane and the tail and the sort of the wet blending that we did for the rest of the colour, they really complement each other nicely and give a really cool effect. And there we get them, our two Hussar scouts riding across the field. And I'm very happy with these guys. I think they came out nicely. Yeah, very colourful. You can see the yellow quite nicely on the blue jackets. And the red. Yeah, very, very happy with them. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the painting tutorial. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys next time.